Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're taking a seriously fascinating plunge into the architecture of digital shadows. We're not just, mapping out the regular internet you scroll through every single day. Oh no. We are looking straight at the raw psychology and the bare-knuckle economics that take over when technology, human behavior, and literally zero rules collide in the dark. I am so pumped to guide you through this structural progression. So grab your focus and let's get right into it. I want you to imagine this for a second. You open up a browser, but it's not your usual one. You're purposefully stepping totally away from your standard, completely safe internet routine. You're leaving behind the familiar bookmarks, the optimized search engines, and those cozy corporate algorithms that pretty much track and predict every single clip you make. You're intentionally choosing to step right off the paved roads of the surface web. This is exactly where our source material kicks off its journey, and it puts you right in the driver's seat for this descent. Okay, let's dive into this structural progression. We'll be hitting 4 main stops. First, the unusual browser. Then, the harmless forums. Third, the digital walls closing in. And finally, the lawless market. All right, section 1. Opening a new browser. So think about what it actually means to take that very first step off the familiar surface web. It's kind of funny. You aren't furiously hacking into some giant government mainframe like in the movies. You're literally just using a single, unusual tool. Just using a browser that's designed to bypass standard routing, well, that fundamentally alters your entire digital trajectory. You're basically trading the fast, super optimized highways of the surface web for these encrypted, masked back alleys, and that is what allows you to resolve hidden URLs that normal browsers physically can't even see.
Moving on to level 2, the harmless forums.
So you've bypassed the standard routing, right? And what do you actually find down there? Well, your first encounters in this hidden space are surprisingly mundane. Deceptively so, really. As the source material puts it, at first it's just harmless forums. You stumble upon these super basic, text-heavy message boards. People are just discussing super obscure hobbies or sharing highly technical computer tips, maybe debating some really fringe philosophy. It's quiet, the pace is slow, and honestly, it creates this incredibly powerful, almost enveloping false sense of security. It totally masks the sheer plunging depth of what's literally just beneath your feet.
And this brilliantly illustrates the stark, jarring shift that happens next. We move away from that deceptively safe, welcoming little lobby of the deep web and rapidly plunge into a space of escalating danger and serious claustrophobia. The contrast here, it is not gradual at all. It's sudden. And make no mistake, it is entirely by design.
Which brings us to section 3, digital walls closing in. Right here, all those harmless discussions just vanish. The very architecture of the web starts to feel totally different. The digital walls actually start closing in on you. You're no longer navigating some open town square. You're in heavily encrypted tunnels. The isolated spaces feel highly, highly restrictive. Down at this depth, absolute anonymity isn't just some neat little privacy feature. It's a strict, non-negotiable requirement for survival. The structural danger escalates, the psychological stakes skyrocket. Every single level you move downward, it gets heavier. Which really brings us to an absolutely critical, foundational threshold. What happens when the law stops? I just want you to pause and really think about that for a second. You are crossing a totally invisible boundary. It's a definitive line in the digital sand, where standard societal rules, basic protections, and normal consequences just evaporate into thin air.
And that leads us to section 4, everything has a price.
We've officially hit the absolute bottom layer, all the familiar rules of society completely stripped away. What's left is an ecosystem that's way colder, highly efficient, and just far more calculating. The source text literally lays it out perfectly. You're in a place where the law doesn't reach. This entire ecosystem is defined entirely by its complete and utter lack of jurisdiction. I mean, think about it. There are no consumer protection agencies down here, 0 corporate moderators, no terms of service to agree to, and there are absolutely no authorities you can call up when something goes horribly wrong. So the crucial point is this specific structural progression. The deep web is fundamentally engineered from the ground up to escape legal reach and to facilitate purely 100% unregulated commerce. It operates entirely on an absolute transactional nature. There is no cozy sense of community here, no shared digital citizenship. It's just buyers, sellers, and the heavy, encrypted darkness that connects them together. which ultimately leads to the final, chilling revelation of our source material, and absolutely everything has a price. This is where that entire progression of danger culminates. It's a ruthless, completely unregulated digital economy. Because, when the law absolutely cannot reach you, the only governing force left in existence is raw, unadulterated supply and demand. In this specific space, data, hacking tools, exploits, even your own digital identity, actually scratch that, especially your digital identity, it all just becomes inventory sitting on a dark shelf in the shadows. So, as we wrap up this explainer, let's turn the lens back around for a second. What price do you put on your digital footprint? Because out there, in the absolute deepest levels we just mapped out, it's highly likely someone else has already slapped a price tag on it. As you close this out and, go back to your usual browser and resume your standard safe internet routine today, I really want you to remember that architecture of the shadows sitting just beneath the surface. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I'll catch you next time.